Welcome to another edition of Crime News with Mark Solomon. It is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and today we're going to be doing a quick touch on the Summer Wells case, very, very short. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Lori Vallow and the situation she is in, and then we're going to move on finally to Chad Daybell and talk about the news that has been coming out yesterday with his children talking out to 48 hours. Stay tuned. But before we get to that, don't forget to click like and subscribe with a little bell next to it to be notified of future videos. If you're enjoying this video, you want to see more videos, click that bell. You may be the first person to be able to click like. That's kind of a privilege if you ask me. Well, and I always appreciate your watching. So let's get to it. First thing I wanted to talk about was Summer Wells. Remember that Summer Wells is the 5-year-old girl who disappeared about 8 weeks ago without a trace. Her parents, her mother and her grandmother were there. The little girl went inside, never to be heard from again. The boys were home. There were some issues in regards to whether or not she had hit her head in the swimming pool on the way back just before they got home. And we had a lot of videos about that, a lot of viewer interest. There was a lot of speculation about why the dogs around the house didn't hear or see a hide nor hair of anyone coming or going from the house, including Summer Wells or anybody who might have abducted her. However, the reward has now surpassed $38,000, and that's as of yesterday, or in this article, it was 7 hours ago. So if you have any information that you'd like to contribute, remember that they have the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office or Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Here's the phone number you can call to report that information. Please do that if you can. Next thing I wanted to just mention, in doing some research for this, I kept seeing articles about Summer Wells' father, Don Wells Jr., having been arrested for some very serious things. That was absolutely and positively false. It was set up by a fake news joke-like website, and I almost reported on it, but because I do my research, I did not. Mr. Wells does have a criminal history from some time ago, and I'm not talking about that today. My point here is, be careful what you read on the internet. Not all of it's true. Surprise. Okay. Next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about was Lori Vallow. She was in court on Monday, and if you don't remember, Lori Vallow is accused of the murder of her 2 children, and I believe she has also been indicted in the murder of Tammy Daybell. And if for all my subscribers who haven't seen it, I keep this here. This is our death timeline where it comes in handy times like this. This case keeps coming back up. Joseph Ryan died in April 2018. One of Lori Vallow's former husband, Charles Vallow, her, I think, 4th husband, died July 11, 2019. JJ and Ty Lee died in September. Tammy Daybell in October of 2019. And Alex Cox, her brother, who killed Charles Vallow, died in December 12 of 2019. Now, because of all of these deaths, not all of them have been proven murders. I keep that there to make sure everybody understands what's going on. Chad Daybell has been pushing forward on his case. We're going to talk about him next. But Lori Vallow was declared not competent to stand trial. And remember, competency is whether you understand the charges against you, the maximum penalties, the roles of all the players involved, like the defense attorney, the prosecutor, and the judge, and also whether you can assist in your own defense. And the judge heard the initial report from the defense competency expert or the competency evaluator who said she was not competent. The state challenged that, had her evaluated a second time with their own psychiatrist who agreed that she was not competent to stand trial. And as such, the judge declared her not competent to stand trial and committed her for restoration. There is a 90-day time limit for that in Idaho, and what happens next is the judge needs to make sure that there's progress being made in the restoration. He does not want to just let her skirt out of being charged and tried for a criminal offense when she otherwise should be by playing that she's not competent. She's being restored, but the judge needs to make sure that they are doing everything they can to restore her. And if restored to competency, the case against her will resume. The judge heard the issue of competency on Monday, where Judge Boyce told the attorneys, stating that he had received 2 letters from the Department of Health and Welfare, but that those letters did not rise to the level of being an adequate progress on the report of her competency. So both sides agreed to Judge Boyce, and they set their case for another status hearing on September 8. And her commitment will be extended until then. He expects to receive more complete progress reports from the state before the next hearing. And Monday's hearing, which lasted less than 10 minutes, was concluded. Again, the judge was not happy with the reports that he received, so we gave them more time. Next thing I wanted to talk about is what's going on in the Chad Daybell case. Now, yesterday, Wednesday, September 1st, Mr. Daybell's children spoke for the first time and claim he was framed, and his kids were all interviewed at length by the TV show 48 Hours, and their statements are pretty stark. I think he was fooled in the worst and most deadly way possible. None of this would have ever happened if Lori Vallow hadn't come into his life. He is again facing charges for murdering Tylee and JJ. Children were last seen alive in September. Speaking for the very first time, Daybell's 5 adult children all insisted that their father is innocent. It's just not possible, his son Mark told 48 Hours. Anyone who says that my dad could kill a person just doesn't know my dad, and that's their dad facing those charges. They believe that as a former gravedigger, their father would not have made the mistake of burying the bodies in a shallow grave so close to home. It's a reasonable statement to make, and I think it's a reasonable thing to say and believe. He knew how to dig graves, and that just doesn't sound believable to me, Seth said. Instead, they believe he was framed by Vallow, says this article, and her late brother, Alex Cox, who shot and killed her sister's ex-husband, Charles Vallow, as I showed you in the death timeline a few moments ago, during a confrontation in July 2019 in what he claimed was self-defense. Those are the 2 kids that are now confirmed dead and are now the victims of the murders in this case. Cox died of natural causes in December 19 at the age of 51. Remember, I've done a bunch of videos on Alex Cox's death. A lot of great opinions and thoughts and theories by my viewers. I've probably gone through and explained and explored a dozen of them. Go ahead and look at those videos. I'm sure you'll be as interested as I am that I couldn't disprove a bunch of them. Getting back to what his children were saying, he was framed. This is his property. If there's bodies buried here, it would be attributed to him, his daughter Murray said. I think it's pretty clear that it was Lori and Alex. Alex came and left for periods of time. We don't know exactly what he was doing, she added. Meanwhile, in another bizarre twist, he was also hit with the charges in the death of his wife and mother to his 5 children. Tammy Daybell, who died in October 19, was previously said to have passed away in her sleep, and it is another charge his children insist their father is innocent of. We've talked about this in other videos, and one of the things that's interesting is, remember, Tammy Daybell's death was originally declared as natural causes, but then after they started looking at all this, they then realized something was different, had her body exhumed, and then they charged him and Lori with that as a murder. We still haven't gotten the results of that medical examination, and we still don't know what her cause of death is. But until then, we will simply be in the dark. When asked if the 48 Hours crew believed that they thought Daybell killed their mother, they said no, that's Tammy. Daybell and Vallow are reportedly members of the Doomsday cult, preparing a people, and then allegedly drew on their zealous beliefs to justify their kid's death. The prosecutors have alleged, so says this article. Now, here's another article from People, which essentially says the same thing. Now, remember, all the links that I'm referring to are in the description below, and this article is a really good, concise article on the entire case, and it goes through the very beginning all the way through the missing children until they were eventually found in those shallow graves. They talk about the arrests. They talk about the background of the Doomsday cult's beliefs, which we've gone into a fair amount on this channel. We also talked about, this article also talks about the death of Charles Vallow during an altercation in Lori's Arizona home. Charles, by then, had filed for divorce, citing his wife's growing religious extremism. Cox claimed self-defense and was never charged, and died later from what authorities eventually determined were natural causes. Again, see my videos on that. But after Charles Vallow's death, Cox moved from Arizona back to Idaho with Lori and Lori's children in Rexburg, where Chad lived. And it talks about how the cell phone reports link a search to Chad's property where the buried remains of JJ and Tylee were discovered. And after that, they allege that both Lori and Chad made misleading statements about the children's whereabouts, hence the conspiracy charges. This article goes through a lot of the rest of the facts we've already covered. But again, it's a really good, this article does a really good job of going through that. Last page, I just wanted to make sure everybody was still aware of are the court dates. Chad Daybell's trial is still set for November 8th. I have prepared for you a future court date slide. So Lori Vallow's competency is on September 8, 2021. Barry Morphew, who is the husband accused of killing his wife in Colorado with no forensic evidence in regards to her body, DNA. It's a very circumstantial case. He was in a preliminary hearing that concluded last week, and the judge pushed off his determination of whether probable cause exists to September 17, 2021, and I believe that's at 1:30 in the afternoon. And Chad Daybell's jury trial is set for November 8. That's what I've got for you today. If you've got any thoughts, feelings, comments, issues, suggestions for future videos, put them in the comments below. And until then, thank you so much for watching.